Lorenzo Lewelling was the first populist governor, not only of Kansas, but of the nation.
What led to the populist movement was kind of a rural versus urban environment. There was the agrarian West, where you had the railroads taking the money. You had the bankers taking the money, and the farmers weren't ending up with anything. You know, one of the things that I think makes the populist movement is it touched everyone. It was here at the Wichita Auditorium that Lorenzo Lewelling, who at that point was an unknown, gave this talk that so impassioned the people, he was elected governor.
His speech was really a fiery speech. His rhetoric was really towards that of a war general, kind of leading some troops into battle. He talked about taking down the proletariat government that had been in bed with the railroads. But he also talked about cooperation with the state's other political party, the Democrats. And that's really what kind of won the people over here at this populist convention, was the fact that he was willing to accept this fusion ticket, which would become such a point of contention among the populists in later years. But in 1892, they needed those Democratic votes to secure an electoral victory, and that's what he promoted, and that's basically what won him this nomination.
He took office on January 10th of 1893, and almost immediately there was this power play between the Populists and the Republican Party. Neither one was going to yield power, and it was up to Lewelling to decide what was going to happen. He ends up calling in the militia. There's 250 militiamen surrounding the Kansas Capitol, Gatling guns. You could hear drums beating. I mean, all these men are there. Populists are not yielding, neither are the Republicans. Food has to be sent up and down on ropes to the Capitol building. No one was going home. Valentine's Day comes, no one's going home. Finally, it goes to the Supreme Court, and they decide that the Republicans meet in one part of the Capitol, the populists have to meet in another part, and that's what kind of ends the war.
So really at the heart of the issue was an election dispute. There were 12 seats in the House that were contested that the Republicans had said that they won, that the populists were contesting. So the day comes to convene the House, and we have 24 people show up for 12 seats, and obviously that's not going to work. And so they divide on party lines, and that's where we kind of get this legislative war kind of happening. And basically it's a stalemate in the House of Representatives. So no legislation is getting passed. Desperate Kansans who are in western Kansas, who have had suffering a drought for the last 5 years, aren't getting the help that they need from their government. And so there's this backlash against the populists coming out of this legislative war of 1893 and Lewelling kind of becomes the scapegoat for this. And that's kind of the reason why he wasn't able to be reelected. He remains a populist, at least up until 1896, when William Jennings Bryan runs for United States president and ends up winning the nomination, not only of the Populist Party, but the Democratic Party as well. And after that, he becomes more of a socialist. He's not accepted really by his former populist brethren, and he can't go back to the Republican Party because he is the enemy now. So he kind of switches gears and goes more towards socialism. And he actually ends up getting elected to the state Senate in 1896, where he serves until he dies in 1900. Lewelling's major downfall was the fact that he wasn't a good enough leader. I don't think that he was able to be the voice of his party like he was the face of his party here in Kansas. I don't think he controlled what his party did enough for him to really make some strong reforms that he had advocated for.
And I also feel like it's part of listening to the moderate voice, that the extremes, no matter how passionate they may be, sometimes it's the moderate voice that wins over in the long run.